Happy spooky season, everyone! Welcome back to the channel! Hi everyone, it is so good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. If you haven't been here before, my name is Cameron. I make videos about books and the things I'm reading and reading topics. And every month I do a video just kind of recapping what I read the last month. So now that it is October, we're going to talk about some of the books that I read in September. If you have been here before, it's so good to see you back. Comment down below if you've been here before or if you have any thoughts about any of my previous videos that you didn't get to say, and we will go ahead and get started. So I had a pretty piddly month, pretty week overall. Let's backtrack. This is not a video that is here to make anyone feel bad. This is honestly just a way that I track my own stats and what I was up to this month and stuff like that. And for a large portion, the first week plus of the month, I was on vacation, so I didn't have so much reading time. I only read 12 books this month, 5 of which were audiobooks. Are you having fun? The cats are wrestling each other, so excuse them, I suppose. But I only read 12 books this month. So let's go over some of the stats and then we'll discuss all of the books. But I will be discussing all of the books with you except for one, because we are still boycotting St. Martin's Press, the publishing company. So if you want more details about that, there's information about it on the internet, Readers for Accountability, stuff like that. So I will not be discussing one book, but we'll go ahead and talk about the other 11 books. So before that, let's go ahead and get some stats. So, ma'am, here she comes. Hi, baby. So, every month I have a monthly goal of reading about 50 hours. I did not hit that goal this month because honestly, I don't know why. I was just totally unmotivated to read this month. I read for 44 hours this month, and in those 44 hours, now remember, 5 of my books were audiobooks, but I read 2,744 pages, and my reading pace of like physical books, my reading pace was about 130 pages an hour. So my pace is getting a lot faster, I've noticed. Maybe it's just constant practice, but around this time last year I sat, I think, around 120, so my pace is getting very quick, which I'm very happy about. Just because I didn't necessarily hit all of my goals for this month, there are still good things to look at when I go over my recap and stuff like that. So I'm very proud of having 130 pages an hour. My best day read was 457 pages and 264 minutes of reading, so really excellent on that. And this month I had a higher average than several other months, so that was also very good. So if you have been to my channel before, you know that every month I have a goal of reading 3 kind of goal books. I try to read a classic, a translated, and a nonfiction work every month. So I did successfully do that. I read 2 nonfictions and 2 classics, so we'll go ahead and talk about those a little. But I was not expecting to love my classics as much as I did, but the classics that I read this month was Anne of Green Gables and Anne of Avonlea. So 2 books of the same series, the first and second book of the series. I actually have enjoyed them so much that I'm gonna try and read all 8. I believe there are 8 Anne Shirley novels. So I'm gonna try and read all 8. But I read the first 2. I was only planning on reading the first one. Whoops. But I fell in love with the first one. I thought it was so good. And I've never actually read Anne of Green Gables until this month. Call me a bad reader, I guess, but I just loved it. Anne might be one of my favorite classic heroines that I have encountered, so I was very happy with that. But I gave the first one 5 stars and the second one 4.5 stars. So, and I'm currently reading the third one, which is Anne of the Island, and I'm hoping I can read all of them this month. I don't know why Anne of Green Gables gives me such like fall vibes, especially because it's like a year-round series, like things always happen. But maybe it's just the time period feeling very similar to Over the Garden Wall. I don't know. But yeah, those were my 2 classics this month. My translated novel. I know everybody loves Sayaka Murata, who is a Japanese author, and I somehow have not gotten around to reading one of their books. So I read Convenience Store Woman, and really short. It's probably closer to novella length. I want to say it's only like 100 pages long. Give me a second. Yeah, it's 116 pages. So it's, I don't know if that's not novella length, but it's a very short read. It's a very easy read. It's very informative of like Japanese living standards and stuff like that, which I thought was interesting, but I think the characters were actually also very cool. So I thought it was very good. I actually was thinking about reading more of their novels, so if you have a favorite one that is not Convenience Store Woman, please recommend it to me in the comments below. My nonfiction books were Rough Magic by Laura Pryor Palmer and Assassination Vacation by Sarah Vowell. So to give you a very small recap, Rough Magic is about a 19-year-old girl who decides on a whim to enter the most dangerous horse race in the world, which is the Mongolian Derby, and just like her story of how she raced in it and became the first female winner of it after doing virtually no training and stuff like that. So that one was a very interesting read. Girl. And the other one, Assassination Vacation, is about a woman who just became really fixated on the the assassinations of 3 US presidents, and went on a vacation and found a lot of the places where those things took place. So Rough Magic was very good. I thought it was very interesting. I learned a lot about a topic that I really didn't know much about. I didn't love Assassination Vacation because I read the audiobook, and there's like a bunch of celebrities in the audiobook. Get out! I'm not sure if you can see him, but here's the little boy laying in his bed. I didn't love Assassination Vacation. It's very dated. She explicitly says in the book that it was written during George W. Bush's, who was 3 or 4 presidents ago now. Yikes, 4 presidents ago now. And she just uses some language that I don't feel is appropriate, and I don't feel was appropriate at the time either. And it was also on a topic that I think I knew a little bit more about, so it wasn't very interesting. But I listened to the audiobook, and they had a bunch of celebrities kind of narrate parts of it, and it totally took me out of the element. Like, I would have preferred just for the author to be reading the whole book instead of reading most of the book, and then sometimes dialogue would be said by like Conan O'Brien or someone crazy like that. So that one got a 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite, and that is what I'll say about it. So yeah, those are my goal books. So that has covered 5 of the books out of the 12. So we'll go ahead and talk about the other ones. Yippee. So this book, other than those 3 goal books, those 3 like types of goal books, it primarily consisted of rereads, authors I have read before, like a new book, but ones that I haven't read before, and mysteries. Because I guess I was in a mystery mood. I don't know. So we'll kind of go through each category. I'll tell you about my rereads first. So the ones that I reread were None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney and The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I read both of these for the first time last year. With my favorite books, I like to take a year in between my first reading and my second reading to kind of marinate it, and then when I come back to read, hopefully it doesn't like my thoughts the first time I read the book aren't like too conflated. But both of these books I very much enjoyed the first time, and then I read them the second time and I honestly thought they were just as good. None Shall Sleep in particular, I kind of really hope gets turned into like a limited series on HBO or something, because I truly think that's so interesting. And I also have kind of been getting out of the true crime thing, like mindset, I guess. Like, I try to not engage with true crime because I find, in my own personal opinion, I find that true crime has a problem where it like focuses too much on the killer. And I don't think we should be glorifying serial offenders of any sort, personally, so I try to stay away from true crime. But series like the None Shall Sleep series really scratches my itch of like, I can still get a lot of the same interesting aspects of true crime in a fiction format. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the topic. And then Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Y'all know I love vampires. 'Tis the season. I gotta read some vampire books. So I went ahead and reread that also a 5 stars. That one's really good. If you are in any way interested in monster slaying or vampires or anything like that, that one's really interesting. I really recommend that. And I guess None Shall Sleep too. I recommend them both if you can stomach it. So the 2 books that we're going to talk about of authors that I have previously read. So I read Coco Malore's newest book, The Blue Sisters. Coco Malores wrote Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and I really enjoyed that book. I think her writing is limited. Like, she writes what she knows. When I say her writing is limited, I don't mean that as a bad thing, but like a frequent topic is like addiction, and they also talk about living overseas because the author herself has lived in Paris, London, and New York. So all of her books kind of take place in that. But The Blue Sisters was really interesting. It felt like a much modern, much darker version of Little Women, because mainly because 3 sisters, one of them dies, and it's about them kind of dealing with the grief of the loss of that sister. So I thought it was very good. I gave it 4 stars. It was an interesting read. I'll probably reread it. So yeah, that is what I thought about that. Realistically, sometimes I go back and I film these videos and I'm like, I probably should have rated that lower. And honestly, Assassination Vacation and that one probably should have been rated lower, but c'est la vie. So that was one of the ones that I've read. I also read Wolf Song by TJ Klune. It was disappointing. You hate to hear it. It was written before a lot of his standalones, if not all of them. So like, he has written several standalones that's names I am literally forgetting right now. Like Under the Whispering Door or In the Lives of Puppets. He's written several that I really, really enjoy. He's kind of found his niche in like, well, I'll say cozy fantasy category. And he also writes asexual characters, which I really don't see a lot of in fiction as someone who doesn't enjoy smut and honestly overly romantic books. It's why I haven't read a romance book in a very long time. It's just refreshing to go into a book that has a little bit of romance elements, but not any sexual elements. But the Wolf Song series, which was a series I bought before I read it, and this is another reason why maybe you shouldn't do that, is not the case. He wrote, before he kind of found his cozy fantasy niche, he wrote a lot of very smutty gay romance books. And that's kind of what this series was. I wasn't that impressed by the first one. I'm gonna try and give the second one a try to see if I can get into the series. If I can't, then I guess it'll sit on my shelves. They've got beautiful covers, so I'm not mad about it. But yeah, I gave that a 3 stars. It's about werewolves. It's kind of Twilighty in the sense of it's about werewolves. And I thought a lot of the premise was very interesting, and I still really like Klune's writing. And it honestly might have been ticked down a star or half a star just because I was so disappointed because I really like his other works. I don't know. And I understand that it was a series written before he found his niche. And now that he's found his niche, I'm very glad. I will read all future books, but I don't know if I'm rocking with this series. That's what I'll say about it. And finally, we have the 2 mystery books that I read, both of which I really, really like. I read Tuesday Mooney Talks to Ghosts by Kate Raculia, I think is how you pronounce it, and The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I'll get into The Appeal in a second because it was honestly probably my favorite book that I read this month, other than Anne of Green Gables. But Tuesday Mooney, it's kind of more of a treasure hunting adventure book than maybe a mystery book, but really fun characters, a fun premise, plus a little additional like kind of supernatural element to kind of get you in the spooky vibes. I think it's a good book to read for this time period. And I don't want to get too into it because I really don't want to spoil anything, but now we get to The Appeal. The Appeal is one of the most interesting books I've read in a while. It is about it centers around a theater company, and the head of that theater company, his grandchild has a rare form of cancer. So they're raising money for an appeal for that grandchild to get the treatment for the very rare cancer. And it's told entirely through correspondence within the theater company. So it's told through texts and emails and a bunch of stuff like that. It is really, really interesting. I really enjoyed it. So there's also a murder. I feel as though I should tell you that. There's also a murder, and so a lot of it becomes, how did this person die and why did this person die? Is it related to the appeal? It was so interesting. I was so interested in reading it. I picked it up every chance I could. I was reading it on vacation, so anytime I had a break in my vacation, it was like, I have to go read my book book right now. But it was so good, and I really want to rant and rave about it to someone, but you really have to read it to like get it. So if anyone has read it before and wants to talk about it with me in the comments, just label your spoilers and I will be happy to chat with you about it. Yeah, that is what I have for you today. A pretty easy month, pretty chill, not a lot of reading done. I'm hoping to get 50 hours again this month, especially with 5 more Anne Shirley books. I think I'm gonna have a pretty good time getting close to that 50 hours, but we will definitely see. I have been interested in reading more graphic novels, especially because the last several I've read were really good. So if you have recommendations for graphic novels, please comment those down below. I will try and read everyone that I can get my hands on at the library. So yeah, please recommend them to me because I really have just been itching for a good graphic novel. And I think it's also nice because it gets my numbers up, yes, like the stats I track, but also I'm really having trouble committing to really long books right now. Like the only thing I really desire to read is like reread books that I know I already like. So I think I'm in a little bit of a slump, but graphic novels are a great way to introduce new things without having to spend days and days reading it. Like I can read a graphic novel in an afternoon. So anyway, please recommend me graphic novels. My current read is Some Shall Break, the second book of the None Shall Sleep series. The third one is coming out in February. I'm so excited. I'll probably do a reading vlog in February when that comes out. I don't know. If you guys are interested in it, please let me know. I think I'm going to pre-order it though. I'm very excited. So anyway, that is all I had. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have your recommendations, please send them my way. If you just have any thoughts of the books that I mentioned that I read this month, please let me know. If you've read anything good recently, also tell me down below. Like we're getting back in slump season. I guess the weather's getting cooler and my brain is like, no big books. So please recommend to me any books that you read recently that you were just so invested in you had to finish it really quickly, and then I will try giving it a try. If you like the video, give it a little like. If you've seen one or more of my videos and you're like, hey, I like what this girl's doing, subscribe. And let's see what the recommendations are today. Go out for a little walk or a run or a hike. It's getting cooler now, and the leaves are changing soon. I love fall. So go out for a little hike. Go get your pumpkins to put on your porch if you live in an area of the world that has pumpkins. What do you put on your porch if you don't have pumpkins? Like, also, do you guys even have a spooky season? The pumpkinless areas. Let me know. And finally, go visit and support your local libraries. I will see you all later. Goodbye.